January 14th, 2020 Bloomington Commission on Sustainability meeting. We will start with a roll call.
Corbin Bear.
Jared Alexander.
Dave Rollo.
Joe Nycom.
Lauren Travis.
Then moving on, we'll do the approval of the agenda, which has everyone been able to look at beforehand?
I move approval.
A second.
Well, can we even vote on the
Yeah, I was
agenda?
going to say we
We don't have a quorum.
We'll just say that for next time.
Let's go with it.
Okay. One thing about the agenda, number 8 on the agenda is a holdover from the last meeting, the executive board elections. We will not be doing that, and we don't have a quorum, so even if we did, we couldn't. And then the next step is, the next one on the agenda is approval of minutes. Again, we can't really vote to approve anything, and I believe Pam wrote the minutes, but they are not, they weren't made available to me. I don't know if she sent them to you or.
I don't believe so, but we
Okay.
can't vote on them anyway. I'll follow up with her, so.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to do public comment tonight? Okay.
I want to pass this around back to you. I'm Don Eggert with from the Environmental Commission, but what I wanted to, my point.
Sir, maybe it would be helpful.
Oh,
if you
sorry.
Took a seat, and for
I forgot about
ads,
that.
if you can speak into the microphone.
We don't televise, sir. The media, U.S. media, finally has discovered the Australian wildfires. They've been burning, like in California. The season starts early, and you have to remember their seasons are the inverse of ours. And they're burning longer, as in California, as in the boreal forests of the Northern Hemisphere. But the scale of this is, I think, probably still eluding us, and I know that the city has received a fair amount of pressure from environmentally concerned citizens about climate change. And yes, this is a very political issue in Australia. I've tried to avoid that, but the basic science of why this wildfire season is on such a absurd level of severity. If you figure the current burn data would be as basically if you burnt the entire state area of Indiana, or almost now the entire area of the United Kingdom. That is one big area of burn. And as the incentive for the city and for all of us on the various commissions, the stakes are getting higher. And this is a confirmation, I think, of what the climate scientists were saying now going almost 2 decades ago as to what would possibly happen. Well, it is happening. And I just also read recently, either the CBC, I think it was from the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, that the projections for the boreal forests are also going to be grim. So if you add to the carbon emissions that we're doing from burning fossil fuels, and you add the carbon emissions from what has been coming out of going from Australia. And NASA expects the smoke now to basically be circumventing the globe, almost like that of an eruption of a major volcanic event. Maybe that'll cool things down, and then people that don't believe in climate change will claim that anyhow. The National Weather Service said that, again, this year, 2019, was again warmer than normal for here in central Indiana. Surprise, surprise. So I think that we're going to have to work together and in support of the city and try to come up with as many ideas as we can to do what we can do. I think the one quote that really impressed me was the leader of the Labor Party and the opposition party basically pointed out that if the claim by his government, meaning they're in the minority, so it's not really his, it's the fact he's an Australian citizen means it's his government. Their claim has been that since Australia only produces a relatively small percent of the total emissions, that why should they do anything? And he basically says if no one does anything, we produce a lot more of the total global emissions than Australia. And my argument is that it's more, if anybody needs to be doing more, it's the United States. And I realize we're frustrated by both state and federal issues. But I really would hope that, where we can make an impact on things, getting people out of their cars, getting them to think before they drive, helping the Solarize Bloomington and Solarize Indiana, that we need to be doing our best to do our part and prove to our citizens that we are doing our best. And I realize, it's hard for me to even understand how our hands are tied by state and federal laws that we cannot control. But where we can, if we can find little places that we can do something, let's do something. And again, reporting back from the last confusing meeting our commission is also going through, some issues of membership and direction. But again, there's still feeling from our people that we need to be working with your commission because we overlap in so many bloody things. So that's my piece for tonight.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Okay.
Moving on to the report from the chair. That would be me.
First report.
First report. Yeah. I would like to say that a commissioner has stepped down. Stephanie Freeman Day has had a continuing schedule conflict, so she stepped down as commissioner. Two more commissioners have been appointed, and I believe they've been notified as well. So hopefully they will be in attendance for the meetings moving forward. And there are still three council appointment spots left that can be filled for the commission. That's really all I have for now. So really we just need to get people to show up, it looks like. And then the next on the agenda is report from the Economic and Sustainable Development. Susan?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I need to mention that we have some vacancies, but two of them are for happy reasons. One is that Matt is now appointed to council, so his seat is open, and then also Aaron, our previous chair, is going to be starting as urban forester for the city, so that's very exciting for everyone. Things that I had were more just updates about things that are coming up. So I'll be providing a short update to council about progress on the Sustainability Action Plan 2019 progress. That will be on February 5th during the mayor's report. And then the mayor's State of the City address is on February 20th. So that's just basically his opportunity to talk to the constituents about what he plans to do in the next year. Just some ongoing data things. We are still doing Lead for Cities, which we had started last year as we had gotten U.S. Bank support to go through that certification process, and it looks at each system, water, waste, ecosystem health, and provides a benchmarking process that we will go through every 5 years to see how we've improved. So I think that there's going to be some opportunities to work with Environmental Commission on some of that data gathering, and perhaps with this commission. And then Earth Day 2020 celebration will be at Switchyard on April 18th from 1 to 9 in coordination with also the Parks and Rec Department and the Monroe County Public Library. And we're organizing a lot of informational resources for people to learn about how to get involved at nonprofit organizations, and then also with the city to become, in the spirit of the event 50 years ago, to become more environmentally active and aware. There'll also be entertainment and then pop-up tents around the park to be able to interact with the landscape and understand the restoration better. So that's most of what is happening with us. We just got back from being away from vacation, so a lot of it's things that were announced last time. But yeah, I'm looking forward to 2020, and I think we've got a lot of momentum going at this point, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next item is the update on strategic goals. So for Jarrett, would you like to give an update on,
I can
the
give
waste?
a short one, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So one of the things we were talking about at our meeting was looking at other cities, their compostable waste removal programs. And so I reached out to the recycling director of Iowa City. And I've been in contact with her getting data from the program that they implemented in 2017 to remove, so they previously had a yard waste collection program where they picked up at the curb. In 2017, they added the food waste to the pickup. They added, the pickup was for anyone living in a single family home all the way up to a fourplex apartment building. And so they financed it through a $2 line item on the monthly utility bill for each curbside customer. And they used that money for for maintenance and upkeep of the program, and to purchase the carts for the customers, the curbside organics carts. And so they have she shared some data with me on a graph, but basically, I don't know if you all want to look at it, but
What was the percentage increase?
so it's from the fiscal year 18 to fiscal year 19, they saw a 72% increase in organics tonnage diverted at the curb from the
That's
landfill.
amazing.
Yeah.
Is it annually? Annually, 1,000 tons.
That's great.
So yeah, and she said, feel free to reach out if you have any more questions going forward. So I just thought I would share that. Oh, and she also shared with me the brochure that they sent out to the city residents to inform them
Oh, okay.
of the program. So I have that as well.
Thank you.
Could I comment? I mean, I appreciate that, and we spend about $900,000 a year, I understand, on leaf pickup, curbside leaf pickup, which to me is a bit insane, since we're driving trucks around using a lot of fossil fuels to vacuum up leaves and take them somewhere, when they could just simply be composted on site. So I think that, if the city's going to make efforts, it should be to try to get people to compost leaves and food waste on site. So if we want to divert food waste from landfill, which produces methane and so forth, and yard waste, maybe what we should do is distribute sealed, composters, and see if that can affect the waste stream. Maybe half the population would choose to use them, and that would obviate the need to go around picking it up. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Moving on, is there any updates or anyone available to update the sustainable business or UDO efforts?
No, I think because Pam's not here.
Right, yeah.
Well, I could comment on
Yeah,
UDO.
sure.
And I don't have anything before me, but I thought I'd propose this for maybe a future meeting. So I sponsored, I took a number of I took all of the amendments from the Sustainability Commission to Planning and Transportation staff, and we reviewed them, and it was sort of late in the game. There was just a few weeks before the end, and so I asked them to comment and see which ones that they were in support of, and I think about half of them they were in support of. Other ones they thought they might support with tweaking. So there were some that were more complicated, that would require more work. And so I suggested that maybe what we could do is adopt what we could, which we did, and then punt the rest until 2020 and see if we could take them up again with some modifications. So Scott Robinson from Planning and Transportation said that he'd be happy to come to one of our meetings. Maybe it could be our next meeting, and we could go through them, and we could report. We both could report on which ones were adopted, and then which ones need further work, or which ones wouldn't be supported by Planning and Transportation, and so forth. So that's sort of under the topic of new business as well, but it's also UDO related. Since we're certain to address the UDO again in the coming months. We've got the maps to work on. Planning Commission has the maps to work on, which is the zoning maps. Mm-hmm. And so we'll be making amendments as we go this year. And so we have the opportunity to take them up again.
Okay.
Okay?
Do you have a list of the
Yes.
to be sent out to the commission?
Yes,
all the amendments that were accepted
Okay.
without any any recommendation to amend, and the ones that were as well.
I'll do that, and then I'll CC Scott as well, and maybe we can get a discussion going about when he might want to come and present and discuss these things with us. And it would be good to have Pam here for that, since she did so much work on it.
Yes. Okay. Then moving to the next bullet is new business, which we kind of did touch on. Any other comments for new business that the commission should take up?
Just a suggestion that, I think we're all on the same page, as Don said, in terms of our concern about climate. And the mayor stated a proposal that's interesting, which is a revenue stream, a local income tax of 0.5% that would potentially raise $8 million directed specifically for that effort. Maybe this is a topic that we could discuss in the future, and it would be good to hear from the Environmental Commission in terms of their ideas. But I don't think it should be just limited to that revenue stream. I think that there are other things that we could be doing within the city, directing current expenditures or redirecting. So for instance, just the curbside leaf pickup to me could be, I think, scaled back dramatically. I think that people, there could be other ways in which we could take that and compost it on site, as I said. Mm-hmm. Maybe we should aim to cut that dramatically, but there are other ways in which we could get carbon dividends, I suppose.
Okay.
So just a topic for future discussion, since both commissions, I think, should have a stake in it. And this one's particularly because of equity issues, which is our charge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it was my understanding that proposal was in front of council for some period of time, either to create a green ribbon commission or create a local income tax increase. Do you know what kind of the rough timeline is? There's other things under consideration for the next agenda.
Well, I guess we'll know more at the State of the City address, which is, when is that?
I think it's February 20th.
February 20th?
Yeah.
So I think John will probably describe it in more detail,
Okay.
but he wanted to get a task force together within the next 6 months, I think.
Yeah.
What he said. It's got to go before the local income tax council for approval, So I think I'd like to hear from our county colleagues
Yeah.
about it as well, since they have a stake in this. But I think that he would like to expedite this and get it done soon, get it going by summer. I would think some discussion about what we should, moving forward with the tax, and also what we would use it for. I mean, clearly, public transportation would be one option, but it shouldn't necessarily be limited to that. And he mentioned equity concerns with it too, that this is something that affects climate change, disproportionately affects people of low income. So we should think about directing some of the expenditures specifically for that.
Which would make transportation
Yeah.
an easy choice,
It
because
would.
that affects the poor disproportionately.
Yeah.
I mean, if you made the bus fare free, I think is what we're
Yeah.
talking about, or discounted it or something like that. put
And
it towards
expand
that.
service, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't need a car.
On the topic of, to add to what you were saying about possibly recycling less or having less of that pickup and maybe composting on site, I'm sure you know the Green Camino people. I went to Andrew Predmore's office at IU. As we all know, Andrew, the Director of Sustainability, he had a program over the summer for faculty, which I was in, and he and his colleague, who I'm forgetting her name.
Michaela?
Yes.
Okay.
Michaela. She directed this great field trip for us, and we went out to Green Camino and looked at all the composting and said, oh, maybe this could be something for Blue. And we all talked about it as a room full of professionals who were there kind of brainstorming about sustainability. We were all like, maybe this is something we could do, So anyway, those contacts exist, and Michaela's already done a lot of the brain work on on that specific subject as far as reducing waste. So, yeah, I wanted to mention that.
I know that waste reduction is a big focus for them in the next year, so they are working on a variety of fronts, including food waste, which is currently diverted from dining halls, but I think they're working on expanding that. I was wondering, is there anything else in front of council besides the UDO that it would be helpful for this commission to be working with you on, or I don't want to put you on the spot, or council of the whole, or?
Nothing comes to mind right now.
Okay.
I'm sure there are things. Gosh.
You just started a new session, so.
Something we've been batting around, which is, it's not really climate related, it might be, is a wildlife management team.
For the city?
Yeah. So this is, specifically focused, again, on the deer topic.
Would that be focused mostly on public property, or like on the parks mostly, or, in city property, or like private property?
Both. I think it could be both. The deer go between properties. So
No,
they
yeah,
don't-
exactly. I think it should be both too.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the deer don't know the difference.
Right, right.
And the other animals.
Yeah.
I've seen some crazy animals on this walk with my dog. We've got coyotes out here, foxes, and all kinds of
So,
things.
so I was on the deer task force for a couple of years, and we had recommendations, but those recommendations are now 10 years old, almost. And times have changed. So there might be ways in which we could cap the deer numbers, again, by, some means of birth control. So that's something that should be explored again. The Ball State study that collared the deer found that, birth control doesn't work in open systems, generally speaking, because deer wander in and out. So that's why it wasn't used at Griffey, and we used the cull, and then now we use hunting. But it turns out in the city, the deer behavior is totally different. They stay put, particularly the females. So the females and their daughters just stay put in the city and rarely leave neighborhoods that they're born into. And so it's almost like an island system. So, it might be applicable And it would be interesting to see if we could get maybe grant money or something.
We should release
to plug
mongoose. I'm just throwing it out there.
Release what?
Mongoose. I'm just joking because there's all these stories on islands where they try to get rid
Eight
of
birds, though.
animals they don't want, and then they
Yeah.
release other animals, and then that makes another problem. It was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
For
I don't know
sure.
if it was an appropriate joke.
And,
Probably. Sorry.
Not sure mongoose are a predator for deer.
No, I know, but in the actual events where this happened, like people had anyway.
yeah.
It's a sustainability nerd joke.
They release
Sustainability nerds know what I'm talking about.
They release them to control rats, and then instead they eat birds or something.
Yeah, then the mongoose eats the snakes,
Yeah.
and then they have to send in birds to eat the mongoose.
Yeah.
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 This is a real story that's happened on islands, yeah. It's a cautionary tale.
So not to beat this into the ground, but I did want to say that the one consideration is that now I think it's a public health hazard because of tick-borne diseases. So people are in the city are reporting more. So it's not just hostas are being eaten. It's not just deer vehicle collisions, but it's people are reporting more and more that they're going out and they're getting ticks, and they're getting deer ticks, not just dog ticks, and they're getting Lone Star ticks, and so they're vectors. These are vectors for disease, and there's like 4 diseases that are on the way here. So the sooner we act, the better. And we also have a technology that we didn't have when I was on the Deer Task Force. We were thinking of doing counts, and it was, renting a helicopter for $10,000. Now there are drones.
Now there's drones.
So we can just have drones do it, either infrared or visually. So there are all sorts of new tools, and we ought to
Counts
address
of
it.
the wildlife?
Pardon me?
Counts of?
Deer.
Counts of deer.
Of the wildlife, yeah, okay.
Counts of deer.
I didn't know you guys could do that with drones. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So anyway, so that's one topic that has some relationship to sustainability
Sure.
in the city for various reasons. So, but I could think of others and send them to you
Okay,
guys.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the next item was adjournment, but I don't think we can vote on that. So
We can
if
just
anyone
all
would like
leave.
to leave, you're free to.
Well,
Did we
did
start
you
at
want to
6?
set times for
Yeah, so
the next working
yeah,
group?
so the next meeting is or the next working group or the next BCAS
Well,
meeting.
I don't know if there's someone here from each working group, but I thought
Yeah.
it'd be good to announce that if you could, or you're just gonna set it.
So for the working groups, I strongly encourage everyone to meet before the next meeting. And then the next sustainability meeting, the Commission on Sustainability meeting is scheduled for February 11th, I believe is the next available Tuesday. 6 o'clock in this room.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Wonderfully run meeting. I'm so sorry to be late.
Record time.
I know,
I was gonna be like,
that's what
how
I
do you
was,
know?
that's what I was